Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mindora Book Review Podcast, brought to you by Mindora Mindset, your go-to space for personal growth, deeper thinking, and lifelong learning. In today's episode, we're exploring one of the most inspiring and life-changing books out there, Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. If you've ever asked yourself, what's my purpose? Or, how can I live with more meaning and joy? This episode is for you. Ikigai dives deep into the ancient Japanese philosophy of finding fulfillment through balance, doing what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. And in this episode, we're going to unpack those ideas in a simple, practical way that you can start using in your life today. Guiding you through this journey are your hosts, Bonnie, a lifelong learner with a passion for wellness and self-growth, and Rob, a mindset enthusiast who believes every great life begins with great thinking. Together, they'll break down the key lessons from Ikigai, share practical takeaways, and explore how this timeless philosophy can help you lead a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So sit back, relax, and let's step into today's episode, right here on the Mindora Book Review Podcast.
You know, it's fascinating when you think about places where people just seem to live, well, extraordinarily long and happy lives. Okinawa in Japan, that always comes up, doesn't it? The numbers are kind of staggering, something like 24.5 centenarians for every 100,000 people.
Yeah, it's way, way higher than what you see in most parts of the world. It's really quite remarkable.
And there's even this specific village there, Ogimi, they call it the village of longevity. I mean, what is it about these places?
Well, it's more than just the lifespan in Okinawa, you know? It's the vitality, the well-being they seem to keep right into their later years.
Right.
When researchers look into these blue zones, Okinawa really stands out, especially for women living a long time and having fewer diseases we usually link with aging.
Exactly. It really makes you wonder what their secret is. And one of the sort of key ideas that keeps cropping up when you look at Okinawa is this concept called Ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah.
Now, when you first hear it, you might think it's just about staying busy, but it seems deeper. It's often described as like the happiness of always being busy, or even the reason we get up in the morning.
That's a good way to put it. It's a Japanese philosophy.
Yeah, and we've been diving into this book, Ikigai, by Héctor García and Francesc Miralles. It explores this whole idea by looking at the lives of these, long-living Japanese people.
It does, and it suggests Ikigai is a bit like finding meaning, maybe like logotherapy, but it goes a step further, more integrated into daily life.
So it's not just about surviving hardship, but about daily purpose.
Exactly. That's a crucial distinction. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, for instance, it really centers on finding meaning even in suffering.
Yeah.
What's compelling about Ikigai and what the book highlights is this ingrained belief that every single person has a specific reason for being.
Everyone.
That's the belief. And discovering that, nurturing that purpose is all tied up with your daily activities and potentially your longevity.
Wow. So our aim for this deep dive then is to really try and understand the core principles of Ikigai.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
Drawing from what the book shares about these long-lived people in Japan and see how it all fits together for a fulfilling long life. Can their way of living give us some clues?
I think it definitely can. It's worth exploring.
Okay, so let's really get into it then. What is Ikigai at its core? We've touched on it, but what's the real essence?
Well, the book really emphasizes that at its heart, Ikigai is your personal reason for being, your unique purpose of life. Quite literally, your reason to be alive.
A reason to be alive. That sounds big.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be grand. There's this fundamental Japanese belief that everyone is born with at least one Ikigai. It's not necessarily some, world-changing mission. It might be something deeply personal, maybe quite simple, that you uncover through self-understanding. Could be work, hobbies, relationships, anything really.
And the book uses that Venn diagram to explain it, which I found really helpful. Can you walk us through that again?
Absolutely. So imagine 4 circles overlapping. Okay.
Got it.
One circle is what you love, the stuff that brings you joy, makes you lose track of time.
Okay.
Another is what you're good at, your skills, your talents, things you naturally excel at. The third is what the world needs, how you can maybe contribute, make a difference, big or small.
Right.
And the final one is what you can be paid for. your profession, how you make a living.
Okay, so 4 circles.
And your Ikigai, that sort of sweet spot of purpose and fulfillment, it lies right there in the middle where all 4 of those circles overlap.
The intersection. So finding that place where what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for all come together.
Precisely. That's the idea.
And if you find that intersection, it's more than just feeling good, right? The book implies it actually benefits your well-being, maybe even your health.
Exactly. The book argues that having a clearly defined Ikigai brings this deep sense of satisfaction, happiness, and meaning. It's that underlying purpose that motivates you, gives you resilience when things get tough, and contributes to your overall vitality. And it's fascinating to contrast this with, say, the typical Western idea of retirement.
How so?
Well, the book points out there isn't really a direct Japanese translation for retire in the sense of completely stopping all work and purpose.
Totally. No word for it.
Not in that specific way. The idea of having a reason to be engaged, to contribute, it's so deeply ingrained that just stopping everything isn't really part of the cultural mindset.
Huh. That makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe our traditional view of retirement is, I don't know, missing something.
It certainly raises the question. You see so many older people in Japan who are incredibly active and engaged.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned blue zones earlier. For anyone who isn't familiar, what exactly are they? And why is Okinawa such a key example?
Right, blue zones. They're basically specific geographic areas around the world where researchers found these unusually high numbers of centenarians, people living to 100 or more.
Okay.
And these people also tend to stay remarkably healthy and active in their old age. The book talks about 5 main ones: Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Loma Linda in California, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Icaria in Greece.
So pockets of longevity around the globe.
Exactly. They give us real-world examples of how certain lifestyles seem to promote exceptional longevity and well-being.
And Okinawa,
Yeah.
it usually ranks right at the top, doesn't it?
Yes, it often holds that top spot, especially when you look at women's longevity and, like we said, the lower rates of chronic diseases compared to many other places.
So what are the common threads in these blue zones, according to the research?
Researchers believe it's a mix of things, all interconnected. Diet is a big one, often largely plant-based. Regular, low-intensity physical activity. And crucially, having that strong sense of purpose in life.
Which brings us back to Ikigai.
Precisely. It ties right back.
So it's not just about food and moving around.
Not at all. The book strongly emphasizes the role of strong social connections, like the Okinawan moai.
Ah, yes, the moai. Tell us about those.
They're essentially informal groups, like lifelong friendship circles, people with common interests who support each other emotionally, sometimes even financially, throughout their entire lives.
Wow, like a built-in support network.
Exactly. Think of it as a lifelong social safety net. Plus, good time management to reduce stress, a diet low in meat and processed stuff, moderate alcohol, and that consistent, gentle, daily movement, walking, gardening, that sort of thing.
It sounds like the moai, that community aspect, must be incredibly powerful for stability and feeling like you belong.
Absolutely. It fosters this profound sense of belonging and mutual support, which you can easily imagine contributes hugely to happiness and longevity.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the book also gets into the importance of keeping your mind active as you age. What were some of the key ideas there?
Right, this is really interesting. The book explores how crucial it is to keep an active, adaptable mind throughout life. It mentions the neuroscientist Shlomo Brzezinets,
Okay.
who argues that our brains actually need constant stimulation to stay healthy. When we encounter new information, learn new things, step outside our usual cognitive ruts.
Our comfort zones.
Exactly. Our brains form new neural connections. It basically helps keep them young, revitalized. It's about challenging yourself.
So just sticking to the same old routines all the time isn't necessarily the best thing for brain health.
Probably not for keeping it sharpest, no. Routines are comforting, sure, but they don't push the brain to grow. The book highlights that things like intellectual activity, staying curious, wanting to learn, dealing with new situations, even playing games or just having lively conversations, all these things seem to slow down the aging of our neurons.
Like brain exercise. Makes perfect sense. Use it or lose it. Applies to the mind too.
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, another concept that came up a lot in the book was flow. What exactly is that? And how does it connect to Ikigai?
Flow. That's the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's idea.
Yeah.
It describes that state, when you're completely immersed in an activity, enjoying it so much, you lose all track of time.
Yeah, like being in the zone.
Exactly. Everything else just fades away. The book emphasizes that experiencing flow regularly is a key part of living according to your Ikigai.
How so?
Well, when you're doing something that really resonates with your purpose, using your skills, you're much more likely to hit that state of effortless concentration and deep satisfaction. It feels meaningful.
Okay, that makes sense. The book mentions 7 conditions for achieving flow from a researcher named Owen Schaffer. Can you remind us?
Sure. According to Schaffer, these conditions help set the stage for flow. First, knowing what you need to do. Second, knowing how to do it.
Clear goals and skills.
Right. Third, getting immediate feedback on how you're doing. Fourth, knowing where to go next if it's a sequential task. Fifth, perceiving the challenge as significant but not overwhelming. Sixth, believing you have the skills to meet that challenge.
The sweet spot of difficulty.
Exactly. And seventh, being totally free from distractions. When those things align, flow becomes much easier to access.
That sounds like quite a specific set of circumstances. Does the book give any practical tips on how to actually get into flow more often?
Yeah, it does offer some strategies. One key thing is consciously picking tasks that are challenging enough to keep you engaged, but not so hard they make you anxious or frustrated, finding that edge.
Right, just beyond your comfort zone.
Also, having really clear, concrete objectives helps. The book uses this nice analogy. Sometimes a compass, giving you a general direction, is better than a detailed map when the terrain is uncertain.
I like that. Focus on the direction, not every single step.
Exactly. And probably the hardest one today, actively minimize distractions. Concentrate on one thing at a time. That's crucial for flow.
One thing at a time. Easier said than done. I also remember reading about microflow. That sounded interesting.
Ah, yes, microflow. That's about finding those little moments of engagement, even in mundane tasks.
Like washing dishes?
Could be. It's about adding a layer of complexity or focus intentionally. The book gives the example of this smiling elevator operator in Tokyo who did their repetitive job with such grace, almost like a ritual.
Finding meaning in the small things.
Precisely. It's about shifting your perspective. The book also touches on meditation as a way to train your mind for focus, which can help you get into flow states more easily.
Okay.
And it points out how rituals, common in Japanese life and work, provide clear rules and objectives which can naturally help facilitate flow too.
So it's about being present, intentional, no matter the task. Now, the book also shared some really inspiring wisdom from people who've lived incredibly long lives, supercentenarians, Okinawan elders. What did they have to say?
Yeah, some wonderfully simple yet profound stuff. Misao Okawa, who lived to 117, apparently said, eat and sleep and you'll live a long time. You have to learn to relax.
Simple enough.
Jean Calment, though her age is debated, supposedly credited her humor partly for her longevity. And Walter Browning, 114, advised keeping your mind and body busy. Just little snippets, but revealing.
Simple, powerful ideas.
Yeah.
What about the Okinawan elders specifically featured in the book?
Their advice echoed some of that, but added cultural flavor. Common themes were, don't worry too much, keep your heart young, cultivate good habits like gardening, light exercise, remembering ancestors. Nurturing friendships was huge, living an unhurried life. And being optimistic, laughter came up a lot as being really important. It paints this picture of a life lived with intention, connection, and calm.
And that village, Ogimi, the village of longevity, it seemed to have its own kind of lifestyle formula.
Absolutely. The book outlines several keys to the Ogimi lifestyle. Nearly everyone has a vegetable garden, good activity, fresh food.
Right.
They have these incredibly strong neighborhood associations, almost like extended family, providing amazing social support, lots of celebrations, music, dance, or just part of life.
Sounds lovely.
They clearly have purpose, their Ikigai, but they don't seem overly stressed about it, relaxed. They value traditions, have the strong community spirit of mutual help. They call it Yuimaru.
Yuimaru, mutual help.
Yeah. And just staying busy with tasks they seem to enjoy, often relaxing ones.
It really does sound like such a connected, purposeful, yet unhurried way to live. Okay, let's shift to some tangibles. The book covers the Ikigai diet and movement. What can we learn there?
Right. The Okinawan diet, as described, is really nutrient-dense, mostly plants, lots of vegetables. Sweet potatoes are big, tofu, and fish maybe 3 times a week.
Sweet potato is interesting.
Yeah. And a key principle is hara hachibu.
Kara hachibu.
It means eating only until you're about 80% full.
Oh, the 80% rule. I've heard of that.
Exactly. It's mindful eating. It leads to lower calorie intake, healthier BMI compared to, say, the US average. And variety is key. One study mentioned they eat over 200 different foods regularly, averaging about 18 different types each day.
Wow, 18 foods a day. That's diverse.
Yeah.
So it's mindful eating, variety, mostly plants. What about exercise? Are they running marathons?
Not typically, no. The book emphasizes consistent, daily, low-intensity movement. That seems to be the key, rather than really strenuous workouts.
Like what kind of movement?
Things naturally built into their day. Walking, gardening is huge. Participating in community stuff like gate ball, a kind of croquet game. It's about making movement a natural, enjoyable part of life, not a chore.
Okay.
The book also briefly mentions things like radio taiso, that morning group warm-up you see in Japan for mobility and community, and other Eastern practices like yoga, tai chi, qigong, highlighting benefits like balance, circulation, stress reduction.
So a very holistic approach, diet and gentle movement just woven into daily life. Now, life throws curveballs everywhere. The book also talks about resilience and this interesting Japanese idea of wabi-sabi. How do those fit in?
Resilience, yeah. The book talks about it as that ability to handle setbacks, adapt, and stay focused on what matters, even when things are tough. It touches on how philosophies like Buddhism and Stoicism offer wisdom on managing emotions and expectations, which helps build resilience.
Okay. And wabi-sabi?
Wabi-sabi is this really beautiful Japanese aesthetic. It's about finding beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, maybe a bit weathered or incomplete.
Beauty and imperfection.
Exactly. Think of a handmade pottery bowl that's slightly irregular, or the patina on old wood. This perspective fosters acceptance of life's fleeting nature and encourages focusing on the present moment. It connects to Ichigo Ichi.
Ichigo Ichi.
Yeah, meaning one time, one meeting, cherishing each moment, each encounter, because it will never happen in quite the same way again.
That's a powerful idea. And anti-fragility was also mentioned briefly.
Yes, just touched upon. It's the idea that some things or people actually get stronger from facing disorder or stress rather than just bouncing back. They benefit from the chaos, learn from setbacks. It's about embracing randomness.
Interesting. Not just enduring, but growing from challenges. Okay, bringing this all together. How does someone actually start finding their own Ikigai? Does the book offer practical steps?
It does. It really emphasizes that your Ikigai is unique to you. It encourages self-reflection. Asking yourself, what do I truly love doing? What am I genuinely good at? What does the world around me seem to need? And is there a way I can be compensated or find satisfaction by combining these? It comes back to those 4 core questions.
What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for.
Exactly. Those are the prompts.
And those questions lead back to the Venn diagram circles.
Precisely. Exploring the intersections helps you find different aspects. Your passion, love plus good at. Your profession, good at plus paid for. Your vocation, world needs plus paid for. Your mission, love plus world needs. Your Ikigai is right in the center, where all 4 ideally meet. The book suggests a simple exercise. Draw a square, divide it into 4, label them, and brainstorm activities for each. See where things overlap, especially that sweet spot of, I love this and I'm good at it.
That seems like a useful starting point. And it's also important to avoid things that get in the way.
Absolutely. The book stresses that chronic stress and depression are major enemies of longevity and finding Ikigai. It reinforces those Okinawan principles. Mindful eating, hara hachibu. Single tasking for flow, integrating gentle movement.
Practices to reduce stress and boost well-being.
Exactly. They create the space needed to connect with your purpose.
Okay. And finally, the book wraps up with those 10 rules of Ikigai. Can you give us a quick reminder of those?
Sure, they're a great summary. 1, stay active, don't retire in the stopping sense. 2, take it slow, savor life. 3, don't fill your stomach, that 80% rule.
Right.
4, surround yourself with good friends, the Moai idea. 5, get in shape through daily gentle movement. 6, smile.
Good advice.
7, reconnect with nature. 8, give thanks, practice gratitude. 9, live in the moment, Ichigo Ichi. And 10, follow your Ikigai. Find and pursue that purpose.
Stay active, take it slow, 80% full, good friends, get in shape, smile, nature, give thanks, live now, follow your Ikigai. Got it.
That's pretty much the essence.
So really, this deep dive into Ikigai shows it's not some, mystical secret, but more of a practical philosophy, finding joy and purpose in everyday life.
Exactly. Living with intention, connection, and embracing a lifestyle that seems to genuinely contribute to both a longer and a happier life. The Okinawans are a powerful example.
What's really striking is how these, seemingly simple things, community, purpose, mindful living, all weave together to have such a profound impact.
It really does make you pause and reconsider your own daily routines and priorities, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Maybe the big takeaway isn't about searching for one single grand, elusive purpose. Maybe it's more about asking, what small, meaningful actions, what connections can I cultivate in my own life, starting right now?
Yeah, those small steps that move you closer to living your own Ikigai.
So maybe the question for everyone listening is, instead of that huge search, what's one small, intentional thing you could do today? Something that connects you to joy or purpose, or maybe just the present moment.
That's a great question to reflect on. It's often in those small, consistent actions that the path starts to become clearer.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Ikigai and the fascinating lives of the Okinawans. We hope it's given everyone some food for thought.
Definitely.
We encourage you to reflect on these ideas, maybe check out the book, and explore what your own reason for being might look like.